Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to MyTutor's online school. So today we're going to be flipping back to English language. Last lesson on Friday, we were looking at English literature. So we're going to be continuing on with our paper 2 that we started to look at last week. We're now looking at the question 5. We're going to have 2 parts on the question 5, so today and Thursday. And then on Friday, we're going to be jumping back over to poetry, and we will be doing the Prelude by Wordsworth. So lots of really interesting stuff for us today. So as usual, it is 45 minutes teaching, 15 minutes question and answer. Although recently there haven't been so many questions, so I might run a little bit more into that time. Rather than waiting for you guys to ask questions, but there will be definitely time for you guys to ask anything. If you've got any questions for my tutor, Tilly is here with us, so she can answer any questions, concerns, worries that you've got with the online school, anything you want clearing up. If it's anything to do with English, then I am the person to be asking, so fire any questions at me and I will do my best to answer them for you. So if you're new and you haven't come to the sessions before, my name is Vicki. So I studied English language and linguistics at the University of York, and then I trained as an English teacher there, and since starting with my tutor in September, I've done about 330 lessons, so hopefully I should know what I'm doing. Right, so let's move on then to what we're going to be doing today. So our paper 2 question 5 is the creative writing segment. So it's worth 25% of your overall GCSE, the same as the paper 1. This time we will be doing non-fiction writing. This is a non-fiction paper. So you will be given some sort of statement, and then you have to write in response to that statement. So we are going to be looking at defining non-fiction language devices, which we started to work on last week, and understand how to write a speech. So today we're going to be looking at speech writing, and then on Thursday, I think, newspaper writing, if I remember correctly. So 2 slightly different styles. Generally, we use the same sort of features, but how we craft it is slightly different. So I'm going to give you 2 really common ones that come up in the exams, so you can see what the slight differences and nuances are. So first off, I'm going to sort of do a quiz, but not in the usual way that we've been doing with quizzes or Slido, or if you've had a crack at Kahoot before, just because I wanted you guys to have the space to say as many things as you wanted to, because some of these adverts that I've got that are coming up have more than one feature, and I was just aware that it was taking quite a lot of time for us to get through those quizzes, so I'm just going to let you guys fire them at me in the Q&A or chat function, and then if you've got any questions, pop those in there as well and I will get to looking at them. We will do a Slido at the end, so don't worry, there will be an interactive element. Also, if any of your teachers or you've come across anything interesting in terms of resources, things like Slido, Kahoot, quizzes or Quizlet, if you found anything similar which you really enjoy and you think would work well in this setup, please do shout at me, because I am on the hunt for something which is a little bit different to what we've already been doing, because I don't want things to get samey for you guys. So if there is anything, please let me know, because I'm very eager to find something else. Right, so the first one, this is an advert for KFC, so the chicken, the whole chicken and nothing but the chicken. So what DeForest feature is in there? So we could have direct address, alliteration, anecdote, repetition, rhetorical question, emotive language, statistics, triplet. We could have imperatives as well. There's a few others in there, but those are the main ones. Which one is in that one? I have heard of Menti, but I'm not sure it does anything different to what we've already got, but I will have a look at it. Thank you very much, Raya. Yeah, absolutely, repetition of chicken, yeah, and a tripartite or rule of three, triplet, or triad. Any of those are the same thing. So that would be the chicken, the whole chicken, and nothing but the chicken. You could say triple as well. That's absolutely fine. Not direct address. So direct address is where we say you, where we're directly talking to the audience. Right, next one then, please. Whoops. A fusion of fruit and botanicals down to a T. Serve yourself a little me time. I think this one's really clever. But the clever feature here we haven't talked about yet. So if you don't know it, then that's absolutely fine. Let me just check my Q&A. Don't worry, Louise, it's nice that you're here, so don't worry that you're late. Yeah, we've got direct address. So serve yourself. Yeah, absolutely. So just thinking, oh, I think it's kind of the yourself is direct address as well. So that is absolutely fine. The other one that we've got in here is a little pun, which is down to a T. So these fused tea drinks, I think like iced teas, not my sort of thing at all. But we have the saying down to a T, what we call a collocation, words that fit together really nicely and is a set phrase essentially, meaning that everything is perfect. So they're using down to a T here to sort of as a double meaning to say that this tea is perfect and it is also tea. So it's a very clever one. Right. So lunch without Oasis is like a boring poster, and then please don't stand in front of this poster, it costs a lot of money. So what's going on with these Oasis ones? Yeah, we've got a simile. Short sentences. So the first one, lunch without Oasis, is... Yeah, the first one's a simple sentence. It's just got the one verb. Please don't stand in front of this poster. Yeah, simple sentences. You can have those. Tilly, we've got some people saying that I've frozen. Can you tell me if I've frozen or whether my screen has frozen, please?
Vicki, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Could you try to move to another part of the screen? We can see. Yeah, all looks okay and you're not frozen for me. Thanks for flagging it, guys. So I'll just keep an eye on it. But for now, it seems to be absolutely fine. So if you're having an issue, just try reconnecting. But Vicki, it seems like you're okay for now.
Fab. Thank you very much. Right, so we've got simple sentences. Yeah, you can have that one. Simile is like a boring poster. And also has a bit of humour in there as well. So that is quite a boring poster, isn't it? So that's the point of why they've written it's a boring poster. And please don't stand in front of this poster. So you could have a polite imperative. So it's telling you do not do something. So you could have that one as well. Yeah, you could call that a pun. That's absolutely fine. Right, taste of freedom, taste country life. I really like this one as well. I think this one's very clever. Yeah, so you could have it as a metaphor, so taste country life. So the idea is that you're tasting generally what it's like to live in the middle of nowhere. Repetition of taste, yep. And also, again, another double meaning, isn't it? Country life being the name of the product and country life being what they are advertising as a lifestyle choice, essentially. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Right. Missed a train, lost a vote, blame it on us. I can't remember which country this was in, but I don't think it was this country. And I think this was quite controversial, but I can't remember why. But anyway, what are the features on there? Rhetorical questions. Yeah, missed a train, lost a vote. We've got 2 rhetorical questions. Oh, yeah, you could have enjambment if you wanted to. That's more to do with formatting and layout. Enjambment is really poetry specific, but I understand why you've said it and it's a very intelligent answer. But that's more poetry specific, really. Imperatives, yeah, blame it on us. And that's what we call an exclamative sentence because it ends in an exclamation mark. Right, the status quo is left tired, bewildered and searching for answers. So this is an advert for a Nikon camera, which looks a little bit dated now, doesn't it? Triplet, rule of three, triad, tripartite, whichever one you want. Yeah, tired, bewildered and searching for answers. Yeah, fantastic. That's the only one on there, I think. 30% less sugar, 100% delicious. These are really good. I highly recommend these. They're really nice. Whoops. Percentage, yeah, so it's a statistic. So the first one is a statistic. It is provable. It is a fact, but we've got a number representing that fact that there's 30% less sugar, 100% delicious. Now, that's an opinion, isn't it? So that is not fact, although it's what we might call opinion as fact. So that's when we convey an opinion as a fact, tell everybody that that is true, but when actually it's our own opinion. But we try and pass it off as a fact, which is what Nestle are trying to do there. They live around the corner from me. It's lovely when the wind's blowing in this direction. You can smell chocolate. It's fabulous. Right. You don't have to be a saint to have a halo. So I think, is this halo ice cream? I think, are they the sort of low calorie protein diet ones? I think I have had some before. Direct address, yep, you don't have to. Metaphor, you don't have to be a saint, yeah, because we don't have saints like that anymore. We might call a person a saint, but yeah, absolutely. And to have a halo, there's another one in there. Can anybody tell me what that one is? So we've got halo. So halo is the name of the chocolate, and or the ice cream, chocolate ice cream. Oh, I don't know if there's chocolate there. Anyway, the brand name is Halo. So it's sort of an extended metaphor, and we've got a pun, a play on words again, where we're saying halo as in the little thing above our heads that tells us that we're an angel or a saint, and then halo is in the brand name. Yeah, so you guys have just come up with that. Fantastic. Right. A Mars a day helps you work, rest and play. This is quite an old one. Changed their design a little bit. Tripartite, yeah, triplet rule of three, helps you work, rest and play. Yeah, fabulous. And then I think this is our last one. Yeah, feel free, it's Galaxy Note. Oh, is there direct address? Yeah, there is. I missed that one. You're absolutely right. Helps you. Fantastic. Feel free. Alliteration, yeah, absolutely. I suppose you could perhaps say it's an imperative, because it's telling you to be free, but if it says something like go and be free, that would be much more obvious. So I potentially, but I probably wouldn't argue for that one. Right, fantastic guys, well done. So all of these are adverts, and what's really nice with adverts is you get sort of additional images and sort of play on words which you might not necessarily get in writing. So that's, I think they're really nice to look at. I did a module at uni on adverts and it's super interesting. Right, so what does question 5 ask me to do? What do you need to be doing? So it's a 40 marker, it's worth 25% of your overall mark. Spending about 45 minutes on it, you will be given a statement that is a little inflammatory, meaning that there's some sort of debate within society around it, and you need to create an argument either for or against. So they won't be like really mad ones that are really heated, things like or at least I don't think they will be, things like should capital punishment be banned, or should we legalize abortions or make them illegal, or oh, what was the other one I thought, should anybody be able to have a gun, things like that, which are really politically charged and really difficult ones to answer, essentially. So you won't have anything that's sort of that hot a topic, but you'll have something sort of relatively middle of the road. So I'm going to show you each of the ones that are currently up on AQA's website that have been previous questions, and I'd like you guys as we go through to work out the purpose, the audience and the format, and we'll recap if you guys aren't sure what any of those are. So this was I think the November 28 one. So cars are noisy, dirty, smelly and downright dangerous. They should be banned from all town and city centres, allowing people to walk and cycle in peace. Write a letter to the Minister for Transport arguing your point of view on the statement. So what's also really nice about this is it tells you that you are advised to plan. As a little reminder if you're someone that gets a little bit carried away. So purpose, audience, format then, peeps, what do we think? Right, what about the flatters table? So flatters is for poetry. So that's looking at form and structure, language, language techniques, attitudes of the speaker, narrator or poet. Themes, emotivity, I can't remember what the R is, and S being sounds. Reader. So yeah, don't worry about that, put that to the back of your mind. So we're currently focusing on De Forest, so that's non-fiction. So format is usually the nice straightforward one. Right, so far we've only had a look at identifying De Forest features in adverts, so don't worry, we haven't really missed much. We've just been practicing identification. So our format is how we are going to present the text. So our format here would be a letter. Our audience, who are we writing this to or for? So our audience would be the Minister of Transport. And our purpose, so why are we writing? So we are writing to explain what the problem is, persuade, maybe we could analyse as well, potentially, but because you're in the exam, you're not going to have a load of data. It unfortunately doesn't come with a data sheet, which I would really love it to, where you have loads of facts which you can use. So we're probably going to be going main one, persuade, and also a little bit of explaining why you are persuading as well. So that would be our purpose, audience and format for that one. So all sports should be fun, fair and open to everyone. These days sports seems to be more about money, corruption and winning at any cost. Write an article for a newspaper in which you explain your point of view on the statement. So shout out to me guys, any purpose, audience or format that we think we might know. Yeah, fabulous. The format is an article, specifically a newspaper article. But we're not told what sort of newspaper. So generally they want you to write in the style of a broadsheet. And we'll see that in some of their earlier papers. Yeah, so you need to make it argumentative, don't you? So again, we could have argue, we could have explain and persuade. We could have argue on the previous one as well. Who is our audience, do you think? Who do you think would be interested in this? I think this is a slightly trickier one in terms of working out who the audience is. So we're probably going to be looking at newspaper readers, people interested in sport as a general category, and probably looking at broadsheet newspaper readers. So we're probably looking at adults generally, really. So we haven't been told too much. Yeah, exactly. It's difficult to work it out from the information that they've given you, but just be sensible about it. You know, you're not going to aim this at a 5-year-old. Yeah. Right, so education is not just about which school you go to or what qualifications you gain. It is also about what you learn from your experiences outside of school. Write a speech for your school or college leavers day to explain what you think makes a good education. Format, audience and purpose, please. I think the format and audience are good and nice and straightforward on this one. Format as a speech, yeah, fantastic. That one usually throws people because with speeches you don't, you usually just make bullet points, don't you? You don't write it out in full. So people find that quite an odd one to start off with when they get going on this. But it's the same as writing any other text effectively. Our audience is our school effectively. So in that we can say teachers and students, because those are the sort of people that would be there. You might have parents on a leavers day, maybe, but you'll definitely have teachers and students. And what is our purpose, ladies and gents? Purpose to explain, yeah, to give your point of view, so to persuade but for or against this. So working out the pros and cons, which side you agree with. So definitely explain, argue. Most of these are the same. Explain, argue and persuade. These are usually the 3 that you will be asked to do because they're the most straightforward and the most you can write about. If you've got things, if your main purpose was to instruct, it's really difficult to write instructions really well and really creatively because you quite often have 1, do this, 2, then go and do this, and there just isn't enough for you to write about creatively and show off. So you usually get these 3 ones. You might have, usually you don't have a describe, you could have an entertain, but usually they are set up for you to persuade somebody. 2 more, I think. So these, they actually say write an article for a broadsheet newspaper, so that's really helpful for us. So parents today are overprotective. They should let their children take part in adventurous, even risky activities to prepare them for later life. Write an argument for a broadsheet newspaper in which you argue for or against. So we are told really clearly there what the format is. We've got a broadsheet newspaper. We've got our purpose, which is to argue, probably get persuade in there as well. Maybe a little bit of explain. And our audience, who do you think our audience is? Parents, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is question 5, lovely. Yeah, so mainly parents, maybe just adults generally to spark a debate. Fabulous. And then the last one, so homework has no value. Some students get it done for them. Some don't do it at all. Students should be relaxing in their free time. Write an article for a broadsheet newspaper in which you explain your point of view on the statement. So again, really nice and straightforward. So our format is a broadsheet newspaper. Our purpose is to explain, also probably argue and persuade in there somewhere. And our audience, who is our audience, do you think? So adults and parents, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think teachers as well. So teachers and parents. So I suppose the parent side is don't do your kids' homework for them because it has no value if you do that. Help them, but don't do it for them. And teachers, I suppose when they set homework, making sure that they ask for it back in and sort of being aware of any copying or anything which is a bit, if you have a child that is maybe working at a grade 4 and they walk in with a grade 8, 9 essay, that tends to ring alarm bells and think, what on earth's gone on there? So I suppose perhaps just being aware of that as a teacher. Yeah, fab. Right, okay, so genre conventions, these are important. We don't need to worry about layout in the exam. So we'll quickly pop over genre conventions, what they look like, and then talk about what you need and what you don't need. So genre conventions are characteristics, structure, items that you would expect to see in a particular genre, a particular piece of writing. So you could be asked to write a newspaper article. So this is a really interesting one. So we've got The Sun and we've got The Guardian. Which one is the tabloid and which one is the broadsheet? And how are they different? So I think these came out on the same day, covering the same story. Big points if anyone can work out what the reference is to Hey Big Spender. I'll be very impressed if you know that. Yeah, so we've got The Sun and The Guardian. No, I can't see you, lovely. I can only see your question and answers in chat. Right, good question. What is a broadsheet? So The Guardian is a broadsheet. Yeah, so The Sun is the tabloid, a sensational statement. Yeah, it's really over the top, isn't it? So Guardians are not Guardians, broadsheets. So things like Guardian, Independent, The Times, Financial Times. Broadsheets used to be double the size of tabloids. Some of them still are. Some of them have just sort of reduced in size and sort of conformed in recent years. But they generally are more sophisticated in their language uses, more academic. Generally, they usually look at current affairs. They don't look as much at celebrities, whereas tabloids, you usually get puns in the headlines. It's usually quite chatty, quite colloquial, daring. There isn't as much text, quite a lot of looking at sort of celebrities and what they're wearing, that sort of thing, maybe horoscopes. So with The Sun, you can see right on the front that they've got a tiny bit of writing here in terms of what the article's going to look like, what's going to be said, and everything else on the front is sort of like an advertisement for what's inside. Whereas this one, we've got the bullet points the same as here, but then we've got the article on the front, which will continue on to the second page. Whereas here, Hey Big Spender, I wonder if anybody's got this. It's a song from Shirley Bassey. Yeah, so Shirley Bassey has sung Big Spender. It's from the musical Sweet Charity. So it's a pun, essentially. It's taking the mickey. Then you have Ballsy Boris comes out fighting, so things like alliterative, and you can see the difference in The Guardian, where we refer to him as Johnson by his last name because academically that's what you do, whereas if you're being chatty and friendly, you refer to him as Boris. And then you've got the Prince Andrew scandal up there as well, and so are these really Andy's hands, so trying to get a rhyme in there as well, and a rhetorical question. You're playing with language. You don't really have language play so much in The Guardian. So that's the major differences between tabloid and broadsheet. So you'll usually be asked to write broadsheet, because usually more sophisticated language. Right, you might be asked to write a letter, so you can't see it very well at all. So going back to newspapers, actually, so you only need to worry about writing the article and maybe coming up with a headline as well. You don't need to worry about formatting. You don't need to worry about drawing pictures, putting captions under your pictures, writing in columns. You just need to write. That's all you need to do. With a letter, You can write your address if you want to and the date. That always looks good. And then start off with dear and then whoever. The problem with this letter is that it just ends off with sincerely. So if you know who you're writing to, you should be writing yours sincerely. If you don't, you should be writing to yours faithfully. So those are the conventions that you need to use when writing a letter. You might be asked to write a leaflet. So this is the Conservative Party's leaflet when Theresa May was still head of the Conservatives. So you've got things in there like short, snappy headlines. So you might want sort of a headline. You could do numbering. That would be quite nice to show that you're using conventions. You don't need to worry about pictures. You don't need to worry about pie charts, diagrams, anything like that. You need to be writing as much as you can. So when it comes to genre conventions, you might be able to use the old one or two, like headlines, numbering, but you don't need to worry about structuring it and making it look beautiful. You need to worry about your content. So we're going to look at speech writing today. So before we get going on the speech writing, I'm going to play you Greta Thunberg's little speech that she did at the UN Climate Action Summit. A few months ago now, so hopefully you can hear this.
My message.
Can you guys hear that? Is that all okay? Fabulous. Right, so she uses loads of deforest features in here, so whilst you're listening, I would like you to shout out to me. Shout out to me. I'll have the chat open, not the Q&A. The features that you hear.
Is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How
is it very laggy for all of you?
Vicky, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
The video is quite laggy, but the audio is fine. So I think maybe continue playing it because we can hear the audio. It's just the video that's a bit broken.
Yeah, it's the only audio. It's the audio that matters. Don't worry about the video.
dare you? You have stolen my dreams,
Yeah,
my
direct
childhood
address.
with your empty words.
Oh,
And yet,
yeah.
I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth.
Emotive language, absolutely.
For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions
so we've got
needed
fact
are
statistics
still
there.
nowhere in sight.
Good.
You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency.
Repetition of how dare you, yeah,
No
brilliant.
matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
Yeah,
the popular
absolutely.
idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees,
yeah, statistics.
and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you.
And more statistics there.
But those numbers do not
Repetition
include
of that
tipping
statistic.
points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of
opinion is fact. Lovely.
Justice.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done.
They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees
Statistics,
global
yeah,
temperature rise,
fabulous.
the best odds given by the IPCC. The world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018.
So I'm going to leave it there because she generally sort of does the same thing throughout. Quotations from others as well, yeah, that's a really nice one. So she pretty much covers most of the DeForest features in there. She says crystal clear, which was alliteration, which I don't think anybody picked up. And I think we pretty much picked up everything else. So fantastic, guys, well done. So that's sort of what a good speech looks like in terms of a relatively famous one. So this is the task that I've given myself for a model answer for you guys today. So celebrity culture is creating a huge expectation for the youth of today. It creates a lack of self-confidence, unhealthy thoughts, and a lifestyle which is not attainable for most. Write a speech to present to your school or college in which you argue for or against this statement. So purpose, audience and format then. Our purpose is arguing, persuading. Our format is a speech, and our audience is either our school or college students and teachers. So in terms of planning, this is a relatively nice strict structure which you could use for your plan. So first of all, in my introduction, I'm going to introduce the problems of social media generally. So I'm not going to link it to celebrities yet, but I'm going to sort of establish some issues. Right, so that's my introduction. My point one, so I am going to talk about body image and the comparison with celebrities and why that is a problem. I'm then going to go on to my point two and talk about sponsorship, gifting, advertisement, and the problems that come along with that, and perhaps specific problems such as feeling that you need to buy stuff in order to adhere to society's norms, maybe. And then point three, I'm going to talk about self-branding. So people who have their own products. So the obvious one I can think of, which you guys I don't think will remember, several years ago David Beckham did a line of boxes, I think in H&M, which went absolutely mental, and everybody bought, but generally just in using your name to sell products essentially, and the expectations that it creates. So what are they selling and why, and then how does that impact on people who buy them? And then I'm going to conclude by basically saying be you. You don't need to conform, you don't need to worry about fitting in, you can just do whatever you want to do, and that is absolutely fine. So that is what I am going to write about. I'm just going to grab my speech. I have pre-written it today because I thought there was no chance that I was going to get to the end and be able to model it for you. So, oh, someone's throwing up a Q&A. Quite possibly. I don't know whether she's got a perfume, but if Ariana Grande has a perfume, then yes, self-branding, stuff like that. Right, so I think some of this I might show my age a little bit, and you guys are probably going to laugh at me, but I'm hoping you can see how I'm trying to adhere to my audience, how I'm trying to engage them, and how I'm trying to create a relationship and a rapport with them, and showing off to the examiner that I know who my audience are and I'm making it appropriate for my audience. So I'm not starting off with, hello, my name's Vicki and I'm here to talk to you today about celebrities. I'm just diving straight in because it's boring if you start off with that. Everybody expects you to do that. So come up with something a little bit different. So I started off with hello, just as a nod to the genre convention of a speech. And you usually start by saying hi to people. So hello, have you ever found yourself absent-mindedly scrolling through Instagram? Rhetorical question. Feeling you have to edit and filter your photos before you post your selfies? Another rhetorical question. And waiting for the release of your new celebrity's product? Rhetorical question. I've got 3, so I've also got a rule of 3, triad, triplet, tripartite, whatever you want to call it. 85% of 13 to 18-year-olds, so I've got a statistic which I've completely made up. Make sure that when you are making up facts and statistics that they are believable and not completely balmy and off the wall. Make them believable. It's not... No, there is one sentence which is not a rhetorical question, which is the one I'm reading. 85% of 13 to 18-year-olds said that the first and last thing that looked at in their day was their phone. So that is a sentence. So how is this impacting your mindset? So I'm now going on to open up into my next paragraph. So point number 1 then, so this was body image. So today, young people are flooded by media which is constantly accessible. The first thing we do in the morning is check our phones. So I'm expanding on what I've said in the introduction. Before we go to bed, we scroll through our feeds, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. All the while we are texting, tagging each other on Facebook and WhatsApping. Our minds are constantly busy, lapping up everything in sight. So texting, tagging each other on Facebook and WhatsApping is a triplet. Oh, I didn't mention right at the start, I've got some direct address in there saying you. And then our minds are constantly busy lapping up everything in sight. That would be metaphorical because our minds don't actually lap. An article on Facebook promises 10 foolproof ways to get beach body ready. So alliteration with beach body. And then beach body ready, that's something which is targeted at younger people generally. We click looking for that fix to get rid of that one stubborn stomach roll. That's the wrong roll, it should be double L. So stubborn stomach, we've got some sibilants in there. Jennifer Aniston barely eats anything. So I'm now linking this to celebrity. Well, if we all want to look like Rachel, so I'm showing that I understand popular culture, I'm referencing Friends, then we must only, an imperative, eat avocados and eggs every day, right? Rhetorical question. Now, I clicked on this article just to find out what she ate because she looks so fantastic and I think she's 50. And I've got a feeling that it was avocados and eggs and barely anything else. I couldn't live like it. I needed the carbs. But that is an example of something that I've experienced. So it's almost anecdotal. You can be healthy without starving yourself. So direct address, but this battle isn't always won in the minds of some of you sitting in front of me. So we've got direct address again and the understanding and awareness of how young people think. This is a real statistic that I found. You guys don't have the luxury of Googling something, but I thought I would throw one in that is true, just almost to shock you guys really. So I thought it would be worse than this actually. So 1 in 10 boys and 1 in 4 girls have body image issues, which could lead to anxiety, depression and bulimia, to name a few. And one of the biggest factors, contributing factors, so you wouldn't think that I've proofread this, would you? One of the biggest contributing factors are celebrity role models. Right, so we've got our statistic in there, and I'm linking it back to the argument I'm making. We have also allowed ourselves to be persuaded by celebrities. They are constantly being sponsored, gifted, and entering into paid partnerships, triplets, with a new shiny company begging for their audience. Well, this is where I think I'm showing my age. Well, if Tom Fletcher likes something, then it must be worth your parents' hard-earned cash. So direct address, I suppose, being sort of a little sarcastic. Yes, they have to tell us that they are being paid or getting free products, but it doesn't stop me seriously considering whether I need to spend £300 on a Lego roller coaster set. That is something that happened a few weeks ago. I wouldn't think about it if we weren't in lockdown, but that's an anecdote. I didn't buy it, by the way. Just when you think becoming a glorified sales rep is overstretching some celebrities, we see those who shamelessly use their name to create a franchise. Since launching a huge line of makeup products, at 21 years old, Kylie Jenner has become the youngest self-made billionaire of all time. That is a fact. I looked it up and I checked it. But it is not so much the products, the buying and selling, etc. It is what comes with the package of celebrity. So again, linking it back to my point, teenagers worrying whether their tummies are flat enough, whether they look glowy, what if their contour is not on fleek? So I've used terms that teenagers use. Has fleek gone out of fashion? I think it might have done. That was sort of big when I was at uni, and I'm not anymore. But glowy definitely is. Children our age are learning that their life's worth can be measured by likes, followers, and shares. You are worth so much more, so I'm using a lot of emotive language here, than those 400 followers that you have on Instagram, and the constant worry of creating the perfect profile. Alliteration. You try to pretend that you didn't use some website which promised you 1,000 followers a day, and if that TikTok video doesn't hit the For You page and doesn't go viral, you are the embarrassment of the entire school year. So I'm trying to be really emotive, showing sort of the dark side, the problems with the expectation of social media and how celebrities are always promoting it. My point is, so my conclusion, my point is that, oh, is it falling off the bottom? It's just entirely fallen off. That's not good. The lesson space isn't uploading it for me. Right, you're only missing a few lines. My point is that you should be unashamed to be your natural self. You do not have to conform to buying the latest brands and products advertised by celebrities. So I'm being direct, I'm giving imperatives. You don't need to look like them. You don't need to replicate their style in order to be on trend. So I'm repeating the you don't. You just need to be you. So I'm finishing off with an imperative, a simple sentence, which boils down my entire argument. Right, so what have you guys thrown up whilst I've been talking? Why is there a black line over one word? Because it shouldn't be there, is the answer to that. Because I didn't proofread well enough. So biggest contributing factors, it said biggest factors, contributing factors. So that's the answer to that one. Yeah, strong and emotive. That pretty much is entirely rhetorical questions. But what I'm doing, listing of social media as well, what I'm doing by asking all of those rhetorical questions is gaining their attention, because right, let me read this to you. So there are 3 rhetorical questions that I'm asking the audience. The 4th one is just leading into my first point. So out of these 3 questions, how many of you can say yes to all of these? So do you absent-mindedly scroll through Instagram? Do you edit and filter your photos before posting a selfie? And do you wait the release of your new celebrity's product? Not everybody will, but I can say hand on heart that when I was your age, that I would say yes to those. So thank you to Sajal, who said no many times. So yeah, it might not be the same for all of you, but I can definitely say when I was your age, I would be on Instagram all the time doing nothing, just scrolling, not really thinking. I still do it. I'm the same with TikTok. I'm awful for TikTok. Editing and filtering selfies, I always do that and have done since I was your age. So yeah, someone waiting for band merch and waiting for new songs, yeah, absolutely. I mainly follow people who are about 10 years older than me now, people who are parents. So I'm waiting on book releases usually. I've also gone to see musical theatre shows because someone that I like that's a celebrity is in it. So essentially buying their products. So there'll be a lot of you I'm not telling you my TikTok name. I don't actually make TikToks. I just watch other people. So there will be a lot of you that think I might do all three of those, or maybe just one or two, and that's making you think, oh my goodness, how do you do one of those things? What are they going to tell me that's wrong? Why am I am doing? And that's what sparks the interest. So that's why I've put 3, because I'm hoping to hit one person each with one of those things, or something that is similar. That's why there's so many. Right, any questions, thoughts, ideas that you want to throw at me in terms of English, anything you want to ask Tilly about the MyTutor programme? Now is your time to message. So what we will do for the last few minutes, is there any maths today, Tilly? There is, isn't there? But I'm not sure what time it is. Can you say what time it is for me, please?
Yeah, so we have maths at 2 p.m. today, and that's on vector arguments and proof with Molly, our maths tutor.
Fab. Good. Yeah, there are only 3 lessons a week at the moment, aren't there, Tilly? We've reduced. Could you clear that up a little bit?
Yeah, so we've got 3 lessons per day at the moment. That's just because it seemed to work better in terms of timetabling for you guys, and the demand wasn't quite there for 4 lessons a day, so I think it's easier to spread them out for you guys. But we'll still obviously cover the full syllabus for all the subjects. It'll just be spread over a longer time period.
Yeah. Fab, thank you, Tilly. Right. Yeah, we still have physics. Was physics before me today, Tilly, with Prashala?
Yeah, it was. And the next session's tomorrow at 2 for physics.
Yeah,
that's right.
Prashala's lovely. All go to physics. Right, so yeah. When is the quiz going to be emailed to us to pick what subjects we would like to do?
Okay, so I think you're referring to a survey. So we ran a survey quite early on when we launched the online school, just with some questions about what subjects you guys wanted. So we're working on another survey, and that should be sent out by email in the next couple of weeks, but it might not be, for a couple of weeks.
Right, so I've got a Slido for you today. It's just a little word cloud one, so I will post the link into the chat for you. So it's how many subcategories can you think of for purposes, audience and format? So for example, formats, speech, audience, teenagers, purpose, describe, as many of those things that you can think of, many sort of buzzwords that you can come up with, things that we talked about today or things that we talked about last week. So I've given you, I can't remember which one I gave you, explain, maybe, I can't remember, teenagers and speech. So any purposes, any audiences, any formats, you can throw as many up there as you like to. So with audiences is quite a nice one, because there are so many that you could have. Fab. So, speech, persuade, explain, articles. Right, so the people who are deciding to not use Slido properly, I ask you politely not to. Right, children, yeah, you could have that as an audience. Persuade, inform, yeah, adults, good. So think about what sort of text you might come across in day-to-day life. So what might you see when you go out walking? What sort of texts might you see? What sort of texts do you buy? Do you have books? Are there other written content that you might buy, perhaps your parents buy? What comes with toys? All sorts of stuff, any sort of media, essentially. Opinion, yeah, so the government could be an audience. Teachers, inquire, yeah. Inform, essay, good. Any others on there? Analytical, yeah, so to analyze. Petal paragraphs, you could, or could you? No, because with petal, you would be naming a technique, wouldn't you? So you could do point, evidence, analysis, that would be fine, but petal's usually used for the reading parts. So you might need to adapt that a little bit. Yeah, but what technique are you explaining? You haven't got a text to say this technique is being used and this is why it's effective and important. So that's the problem with that one. Summarize, yeah, statistics comes under DeForest. Some of you've come up with some really good ones. Describing, yeah, that's good. Explain. Fab. Exclamatives and imperatives would be content in terms of features. Yeah, good. Fab. Right, I think we will leave that there. Are there any other questions, thoughts? And I think that you, the link was in the webinar chat and it had been for quite a few minutes, so don't worry about it. Right. Before we sign off then, is there anything that you guys would like me to cover in part 2? Anything which you think that needs tidying up a bit? I'm still not sure what on earth is going on and I need that gone through again. So I will give you very quickly a minute or so to type any of that in. Right, so I'm going to assume that there aren't any. So we are coming towards the end of today's session. I don't think there are any other questions that I haven't picked up. Have you found anything, Tilly, that I haven't picked up?
No, I don't think so.
Fabulous. Right, okay. So we will leave it there today then, ladies and gents, being as none of you have sent anything through that you really want me to go over next lesson. So I will be seeing you again Thursday at 11 o'clock. And I will be doing part 2 on paper 2 question 5, so we'll be continuing. I won't be doing speech writing, I will be doing probably a newspaper article, a broadsheet one as well. So we've got maths, I think, at 2 o'clock. So if you guys want to stay and go do that, please do. So that is all for today. I will see you Thursday at 11 and Friday at 11 as well for poetry. So have a lovely rest of your day and see you all on Thursday.